Welcome to the Dave Mierswa Show, the cutting-edge talk show about legal, political, and current issues. Practicing in both Wisconsin and Illinois, David Mierswa is a leading trial attorney bringing nearly 2 decades of business law, family law, personal injury, and estate planning experience to you. The Dave Mierswa Show, about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. The Dave Mierswa Show, its guests, agents, and WRLR are not rendering any legal advice. All listeners are encouraged to seek legal advice from properly licensed and qualified professionals.
Good afternoon. I hope everyone's having a great Sunday out there. I tell you, folks, this is host Dave Mierswa, attorney Dave Mierswa, and I can't believe it. I've been on the air for over a year now, if you can believe it. 1 year of listening to me on WRLR. If you could stomach another hour, I want you to stay tuned to my show today. I got a great topic that I'll be talking about in a second here. I just want to kind of do a little commentary here for a second before I start the show. It was a long week this week, and all of the shootings that have been going on has just gotten out of hand, and I think a lot of the Americans feel the same way, and anyone within the United States feels the same way. And this last week, with the assassination of the police officers down in Dallas, and also possibly alleged the wrong shootings in Minnesota and New Orleans, I believe, in Baton Rouge. My heart goes out to all the families and all the victims. It's just heart-wrenching to see that happening here in the United States, but we forget that every weekend, and all the anti-gunners out there and anti-Second Amendment people, I'm going to try to put politics aside, but every weekend, every weekend without fail, there are so many shootings in the city of Chicago. And the last 2 weeks there have been children under the age of 16 years of age, and I believe under the age of 6 there's been 4 or 5 children shot again, and it just never ends. And I'm with everyone out there that something's got to be done about all the shootings and all the carnage. I do have a couple of proposed solutions. I'm not going to get into that today. My show is not about that today. I just wanted to take a minute, and I want to express my condolences to all the family members that are going through that and all the shootings that occurred. All right. And I know they are having protests all around the United States on this. And for 1 minute they supported the police, and then a lot of these demonstrations are again fighting with the police. I have comments on that, but again, I will save it. But we got to pull together as a society. All of us have to do our part to minimize the violence. And if you got something to say, you have the right here in the First Amendment here in the United States. I want to take a minute here to explain about my radio show and my mission on this radio show and my mission in life. So I've been on the air for over 1 year now, and the feedback that I have received on this show was that the show is hard-hitting, it is fast, a lot of cutting-edge topics that a lot of people don't want to talk about, or they want to go about it anonymously. I'm not anonymous. I believe in stating what's on my mind and using the First Amendment to its fullest. And let me tell you this, for any of you listeners out there that are contemplating any violence or any retribution, not violent protests or whatever you got in mind, the First Amendment will outweigh any kind of violence that can be perpetrated. Let me say that again. And everyone who knows me, if you've been listening to my show, I am a huge Second Amendment protector, advocate, so forth. but the First Amendment is so much more powerful than the Second Amendment. Any day long, a loud voice can carry through the day and through the night. And with today's technology, everything gets recorded, everything videotaped, and with YouTube, everyone has a voice today. So I urge that if you have any problems that you want to express or issues, violence is not the way, has never been the way, and it's only going to beget more violence. So I have to be in Chicago this week, so hopefully they're planning some more protesting, which, I'm all for. I'm all for the First Amendment, but hopefully they're not going to interfere with other people's rights to do commerce and to get downtown and put food and bread and butter on their table for their families, because that's what they're messing with. But anyway, I support their protests, like what they had down in Dallas, up until the point where one individual decides to kill innocent people, which you may argue innocent or not. But anyway, let me get on with my show here. It has been a rough week, I tell you. Saturday, I had a great day, and I got up at 4:45 a.m., had to head up to Wisconsin again. And I had a summer get-together for my Delta Chi brothers that it was pretty great. I belong to the alumni board for Delta Chi fraternity out of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And I want to take a minute to talk about this, is that, I entered this brotherhood and fraternity for the right reasons, but when I was younger, I was into partying and whatever else, but many years later, I've been out of college for over 25 years, and I went back there this summer, and we had a cookout. All the alumni showed up, and their wives, and some brought some kids, and that was the clear picture of what life's all about. Life is all about creating a brotherhood, a sisterhood, family, and it's all about establishing these relationships over the barriers. And when we are born, we don't have any barriers. We don't have any preconceived notions of what the world is like. And most of this behavior is learned. All the hatred and all the racial conflict, it's all learned. I did a show. This brings me to my next point. All of my shows are uploaded to YouTube, so you can go to YouTube and just search for Dave Mierswa, Mierswa, and all of my shows get uploaded there about a day or so after my show. And also, if you want to listen to the audio is on my website, law540.com, law540.com. So to all of the police out there and all the first responders, this is a shout out to you. And I hope that you remain safe out there. And I hope anyone who's contemplating any violence, they really do reconsider. And if you have an issue of what's going on, I'll tell you what, I'll bring you on my radio show, and I will give you a platform. I will give you a voice to talk about what's going on. So I'm kind of diverging from my topic today, which I'm not going to allow this person to allow the media to diverge from the issue in the spotlight, what I'm about to talk about, okay? But I had to talk about what happened this past week and all of the violence that's going on. And a lot of you are just reeling from it, and we're supposed to be enjoying life in summer. So that's my 2 cents on that. Let me do my shout outs today. On July 14th through July 17th, 2016, Antioch is having their Taste of Summer, and there will be carnival rides, games for the whole family. Many types of foods will be prepared by area restaurants. Entertainment will be by Bella Kane, High Fidelity, Suburban Cowboys, the Neverly Brothers, Shadows of Night. That's a pretty cool name. Shadows of Night, and Judson Brown. 4 days of family fun to include exhibitors, sidewalk sales, and crafters. And this is going to be located in downtown Antioch on Orchard and Skidmore. So again, the dates on that, July 14th through the 17th, so stop down there. Also, one of my other missions that I have on my agenda, that what I work on every week, what I try to work on every month, is to put a spotlight on issues and people and things that don't have a voice. And animals do not have a voice. And I wanted to say that if you're not doing anything today, bring you and your family, stop by Reach Rescue. They are a non-for-profit, non-kill animal shelter. And they're located over in Mundelein, 1126 West Maple Avenue in Mundelein. And they have an adoption center. Right next door is a resale shop. And if you have anything you want to donate, you can get a tax deduction. If you're looking for more stuff for your home, or if you have a college student that is needing some furniture and stuff, I implore you to stop over there and buy your stuff, because 99% of it goes right back to saving the animals. I know the people that run the shelter and this group, so they are dedicated to saving animals. I can't tell you how important it is not to go to one of these for-profit animal sale shops. So next one is Save a Pet, located in Grays Lake, 31664 North Fairfield Road in Grays Lake. That's Save a Pet. They've been around forever. So, make sure if you're not doing anything today, take your kids over there. And it's great. You can visit the animals. You can go get food from them and so forth. Just get involved. Stop hiding in your basement. Stop hiding. Get out. Start to make a difference. I tell you, you're going to feel better. The animals are going to feel better. The people around you feel better. And that's what summer's all about. It's not just the continued barbecue and drinking and all that. It's giving back. It's one of the ways that you can give back. Okay, that's enough of my divergence here today. I gave my shout outs here, and I talked about the family and victims of all the shootings. And again, my heart goes out to all the Chicago victims of violence there. So, I hope that we can get together and try to solve some of these issues. All right, the topic for today is Hillary Clinton email scandal. I know that politics has been divided, very much so, but you got to hear, if you are voting for Hillary Clinton, you got to hear this next audio clip that I'm going to present. And I'm not trying to sway you on your vote, but you really need to open your eyes. You can't follow anyone blindly. And I have a lot of friends that are voting for Hillary, and they don't even know what she is about. They don't even question her integrity or her character. All they do is to drum and fife and follow the Democratic norm. I'm not telling you not to vote for her. All I'm asking today is that you open your ears and your eyes and you listen. And I want you to listen to what she has been doing in the past for the Secretary of State of the United States and what she has been doing. I just want you to listen today. I don't want you to render a verdict against me or her. I know a lot of the listeners will do that. But she has been involved with a scandal that is leading into other scandals, which is just unbelievable. My first audio clip here is from director James Comey, and Comey, whatever you want to pronounce it. I believe it's pronounced Comey. And he talked about this past week. He was an independent. He stated that he was independent FBI director, and he gave this report about the Clinton scandal, the email scandal about what perpetrated. And it is very enlightening. This is the FBI director who was appointed by the Obama administration, and Hillary and Obama are, so to speak, thick as thieves. But I want you to hear this. This is coming from, I wouldn't say completely independent source, but one of a lot of virtue, a lot of good character, and beyond repute. So I want to play this first audio clip. And again, all you listeners, I know a lot of listeners, Dave Mierswa, common sense conservative, you're voting one way. I told you, this show is about education on both sides of the coin. You better believe it. I'll be playing some stuff on Trump in the near future. You can be rest assured on that. But let me get to the first audio clip here.
Either intentionally or in a grossly negligent way. Or a second statute, making it a misdemeanor to knowingly remove classified information from appropriate systems or storage facilities. And consistent with our counterintelligence responsibilities, we have also investigated to determine if there is evidence of computer intrusion by nation states or by hostile actors of any kind. Now, I have so far used the singular term email server in describing the referral that began our investigation. It turns out to have been more complicated than that. Secretary Clinton used several different servers and administrators of those servers during her 4 years at the State Department. And she also used numerous mobile devices to send and to read email on that personal domain. As new servers and equipment were employed, older servers were taken out of service, stored, and decommissioned in various ways. Piecing all of that back together to gain as full an understanding as possible of the ways in which personal email was used for government work has been a painstaking undertaking, requiring thousands of hours of effort. For example, when one of Secretary Clinton's servers was decommissioned in 2013, the email software was removed. That didn't remove the email content, but it was like removing the frame from a huge unfinished jigsaw puzzle and then dumping all the pieces on the floor. The effect was that millions of email fragments ended up in the server's unused or slack space. We searched through all of it to understand what was there and what parts of the puzzle we could put back together again. FBI investigators also read all of the approximately 30,000 emails that Secretary Clinton provided to the State Department in 2014. Where an email was assessed as possibly containing classified information, the FBI referred that email to any government agency that might be an owner of that information, so that agency could make a determination as to whether the email contained classified information at the time it was sent or received, or whether there was reason to classify it now, even if the content had not been classified when it was first sent or received. And that's the process sometimes referred to as up-classifying. From the group of 30,000 emails returned to the State Department in 2014, 110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information at the time they were sent or received. 8 of those chains contained information that was top secret at the time they were sent. 36 of those chains contained secret information at the time, and 8 contained confidential information at the time. That's the lowest level of classification. Separate from those, about 2,000 additional emails were up-classified to make them confidential. Those emails had not been classified at the time that they were sent or received. The FBI also discovered several thousand work-related emails that were not among the group of 30,000 emails returned by Secretary Clinton to State in 2014. We found those emails in a variety of ways. Some had been deleted over the years, and we found traces of them on servers or devices that had been connected to the private email domain. Others we found by reviewing the archived government accounts of people who'd been government employees at the same time as Secretary Clinton, including high-ranking officials at other agencies, folks with whom a Secretary of State might normally correspond. This helped us recover work-related emails that were not among the 30,000 that were produced to state. Still others we recovered from that painstaking review of the millions of email fragments dumped into the slack space of the server that was decommissioned in 2013. With respect to the thousands of emails we found that were not among those produced to the State Department, agencies have concluded that 3 of those were classified at the time they were sent or received, 1 at the secret level and 2 at the confidential level. There were no additional top secret emails found, and finally, none of those we found have since been up-classified. I should add here that we found no evidence that any of the additional work-related emails were intentionally deleted in an effort to conceal them in some way. Our assessment is that, like many email users, Secretary Clinton periodically deleted emails, or emails were purged from her system when devices were changed. Because she was not using a government account, or even a commercial account like Gmail, there was no archiving at all of her emails. So it's not surprising that we discovered emails that were not on Secretary Clinton's system in 2014 when she produced those 30,000 some emails to state. It could also be that some of the additional work-related emails that we've recovered were among those deleted as personal by her lawyers when they reviewed and sorted her emails for production in late 2014. The lawyers doing the sorting for Secretary Clinton in 2014 did not individually read the content of all of her emails as we did for those available to us. Instead, they relied on header information, and they used search terms to try to find all work-related emails among the reportedly more than 60,000 that were remaining on her system at the end of 2014. It's highly likely that their search missed some work-related emails and that we later found them, for example, in the mailboxes of other officials or in the slack space of a server. It's also likely that there are other work-related emails that they did not produce to state and that we did not find elsewhere and that are now gone because they deleted all emails they did not produce to state, and the lawyers then cleaned their devices in such a way as to preclude complete forensic recovery. We have conducted interviews and done technical examination to attempt to understand exactly how that sorting was done by her attorneys. Although we don't have complete visibility because we're not able to fully reconstruct the electronic record of that sorting, we believe our investigation has been sufficient to give us reasonable confidence there was no intentional misconduct in connection with that sorting effort. And of course, in addition to our technical work, we interviewed many people, from those involved in setting up the personal email system and maintaining the various iterations of Secretary Clinton's server, to staff members with whom she corresponded on email, to those involved in the email production to state, and finally Secretary Clinton herself. Last, we have done extensive work to try to understand what indications there might be of compromise by hostile actors in connection with that personal email system. So that's what we've done. Now let me tell you what we found. Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information. For example, 7 email chains concern matters that were classified at the top secret special access program at the time they were sent and received. Those chains involve Secretary Clinton both sending emails about those matters and receiving emails about those same matters. There is evidence to support a conclusion that any reasonable person in Secretary Clinton's position or in the position of those with whom she was corresponding about those matters should have known that an unclassified system was no place for that conversation. In addition to this highly sensitive information, we also found information that was properly classified as secret by the U.S. intelligence community at the time it was discussed on email. That is, excluding any later up-classified emails. None of these emails should have been on any kind of unclassified system, but their presence is especially concerning because all of these emails were housed on unclassified personal servers, not even supported by full-time security staff, like those found at agencies and departments of the United States government, or even with a commercial email service like Gmail. I think it's also important to say something about the marking of classified information. Only a very small number of the emails here containing classified information bore markings that indicated the presence of classified information. But even if information is not marked classified in an email, participants who know or should know that the subject matter is classified are still obligated to protect it. And while not the focus of our investigation, we also developed evidence that the security culture of the State Department, in general, and with respect to the use of unclassified systems in particular, was generally lacking in the kind of care for classified information that's found elsewhere in the U.S. government. With respect to potential computer intrusion by hostile actors, we did not find direct evidence that Secretary Clinton's personal email domain, in its various configurations since 2009, was hacked successfully. But given the nature of the system and of the actors potentially involved, we assess we would be unlikely to see such direct evidence. We do assess that hostile actors gained access to the private commercial email accounts of people with whom Secretary Clinton was in regular contact from her personal account. We also assess that Secretary Clinton's use of a personal email domain was both known by a large number of people and readily apparent. She also used her personal email extensively while outside the United States, including sending and receiving work-related emails in the territory of sophisticated adversaries. Given that combination of factors, we assess it is possible that hostile actors gained access to Secretary Clinton's personal email account. So that's what we found. Finally, with respect to our recommendation to the Department of Justice. In our system, the prosecutors make the decisions about whether charges are appropriate based on evidence that the FBI helps collect. Although we don't normally make public our recommendations to the prosecutors, we frequently make recommendations and engage in productive conversations with prosecutors about what resolution may be appropriate given the evidence. In this case, given the importance of the matter, I think unusual transparency is in order. Although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. Prosecutors necessarily weigh a number of factors before deciding whether to bring charges. There are obvious considerations like the strength of the evidence, especially regarding intent. Responsible decisions also consider the context of a person's actions and how similar situations have been handled in the past. In looking back at our investigations into the mishandling or removal of classified information, we cannot find a case that would support bringing criminal charges on these facts. All the cases prosecuted involved some combination of clearly intentional and willful mishandling of classified information or vast quantities of information exposed in such a way as to support an inference of intentional misconduct or indications of disloyalty to the United States or efforts to obstruct justice. We do not see those things here. To be clear, this is not to suggest that in similar circumstances, a person who engaged in this activity would face no consequences. To the contrary, those individuals are often subject to security or administrative sanctions, but that's not what we're deciding now. As a result, although the Department of Justice makes final decisions on matters like this, we are expressing to Justice our view that no charges are appropriate in this case. I know there will be intense public debate in the wake of this recommendation, as there was throughout the investigation. What I can assure the American people is that this investigation was done honestly, competently, and independently. No outside influence of any kind was brought to bear. I know there were many opinions expressed by people who were not part of the investigation, including people in government, but none of that mattered to us. Opinions are irrelevant. And they were all uninformed by insight into our investigation because we did our investigation the right way. Only facts matter. And the FBI found them here in an entirely apolitical and professional way. I couldn't be prouder to be part of this organization. Thank you very much.
So that was Director James Comey in response to the emails that Hillary was involved with. I got to cut the break here, and we're going to have some sponsors and all that announcement. Then I'm going to be back. I got some really interesting and awesome more audios that I'm going to play. But this is going to open up your eyes. You think about it. Hillary gets elected. You know, what is she going to do when it comes to transparency? You know, Obama was talking about being more transparent and so forth. And I'm not getting into Benghazi today. That's for a future show. And you can be rest assured, too. A lot of the listeners are like, oh, what about Trump? When are you going to get to Trump? Don't worry. We're going to get to Trump as well. Okay, folks, stay tuned. I got to cut the break here.
Welcome to the Dave Mierswa Show, the cutting-edge talk show about legal, political, and current issues. Practicing in both Wisconsin and Illinois, David Mierswa is the leading trial attorney, bringing nearly 2 decades of business law, family law, personal injury, and estate planning experience to you. The Dave Mierswa Show, about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. The Dave Mierswa Show, its guests, agents, and WRLR are not rendering any legal advice. All listeners are encouraged to seek legal advice from properly licensed and qualified professionals.
Welcome back to the Dave Mierswa Show. I hope everyone's having a great Sunday out there. I just got done playing just before break, and all our sponsors. I just got done playing James Comey, who is director of the FBI, and his assessment of the Hillary Clinton email scandal. And I got to tell you, pretty enlightening, wasn't it? Very enlightening. Let me move on. I have a lot of audios here, and I want you guys to listen to this. And again, I'm not trying to change your mind or whatever, but I want you to open your ears. I want you to be aware of people's character and how they may conduct themselves in the future. Past character is a predictor of character and how they're going to act in the future. Past actions equal future actions. Very simple formula. Let me play Representative Trey Gowdy, who questioned James Comey this last week. And this is an audio from C-SPAN. I think you're going to find this enlightening.
The C-SPAN networks bring you long-form public affairs programming from the nation's capital and are a public service of your television provider. C-SPAN, created by cable.
Good morning, Director Comey. Secretary Clinton said she never sent or received any classified information over her private email. Was that true?
Our investigation found that there was classified information sent.
So it was not true.
Right, that's what I said.
Okay. Well, I'm looking for a little shorter answer, so you and I are not here quite as long. Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails, either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true. There were a small number of portion markings on, I think, 3 of the documents.
Secretary Clinton said, I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material emailed.
Secretary Clinton said she used just one device. Was that true?
She used multiple devices during the 4 years of her term as Secretary of State.
Secretary Clinton said all work-related emails were returned to the State Department. Was that true?
No, we found work-related emails, thousands, that were not returned.
Secretary Clinton said neither she nor anyone else deleted work-related emails from her personal account. Was that true?
That's a harder one to answer. We found traces of work-related emails on devices or in Slack space, whether they were deleted or whether when a server was changed out, something happened to them. There's no doubt that there were work-related emails that were removed electronically from the email system.
Secretary Clinton said her lawyers read every one of the emails and were overly inclusive. Did her lawyers read the email content individually?
No.
Well, in the interest of time, and because I have a plane to catch tomorrow afternoon, I'm not going to go through any more of the false statements, but I am going to ask you to put on your old hat. False exculpatory statements, they are used for what?
Well, either for a substantive prosecution or for evidence of intent in a criminal prosecution.
Exactly. Intent and consciousness of guilt, right? Is that right?
Right.
Consciousness of guilt and intent. In your old job, you would prove intent, as you just referenced, by showing the jury evidence of a complex scheme that was designed for the very purpose of concealing the public record. And you would be arguing, in addition to concealment, the destruction that you and I just talked about, or certainly the failure to preserve. You would argue all of that under the heading of content. You would also be arguing the pervasiveness of the scheme, when it started, when it ended, and the number of emails, whether they were originally classified or up-classified. You would argue all of that under the heading of intent. You would also, probably under common scheme or plan, argue the burn bags of daily calendar entries or the missing daily calendar entries as a common scheme or plan to conceal. 2 days ago, Director, you said a reasonable person in her position should have known a private email was no place to send and receive classified information. You're right, an average person does know not to do that. This is no average person. This is a former First Lady, a former United States Senator, and a former Secretary of State that the President now contends is the most competent, qualified person to be president since Jefferson. He didn't say that in 2008, but he says it now. She affirmatively rejected efforts to give her a state.gov account. She kept these private emails for almost 2 years and only turned them over to Congress because we found out she had a private email account. So you have a rogue email system set up before she took the oath of office. Thousands of what we now know to be classified emails, some of which were classified at the time. One of her more frequent email comrades was in fact hacked, and you don't know whether or not she was. And this scheme took place over a long period of time and resulted in the destruction of public records. And yet you say there is insufficient evidence of intent. You say she was extremely careless, but not intentionally so. You and I both know intent is really difficult to prove. Very rarely do defendants announce, on this date, I intend to break this criminal code section. Just to put everyone on notice, I am going to break the law on this date. It never happens that way. You have to do it with circumstantial evidence. Or if you're Congress and you realize how difficult it is to prove specific intent, you will formulate a statute that allows for gross negligence. My time is out, but this is really important. You mentioned there's no precedent for criminal prosecution. My fear is there still isn't. There's nothing to keep a future Secretary of State or President from this exact same email scheme or their staff. And my real fear is this. It's what the chairman touched upon. This double-track justice system that is rightly or wrongly perceived in this country. That if you are a private in the Army and you email yourself classified information, you will be kicked out. But if you are Hillary Clinton and you seek a promotion to Commander-in-Chief, you will not be. So what I hope you can do today is help the average person, the reasonable person you made reference to, the reasonable person understand why she appears to be treated differently than the rest of us would be. With that, I would yield back.
Okay, that was an audio clip from Trey Gowdy. I mean, really indicting, Hillary's actions and behavior and the conduct. She's also responsible for the conduct of people around her as well, and within the State Department and the federal government as a whole. It is creating a culture of trying to go around laws that they don't want to adhere to and having much to do with transparency. Now, James Comey said that there were no other cases that were related to this whatsoever. And she could have been prosecuted for gross negligence. That's another statute that's out there. There were two of them. There was one for gross negligence, and then there was one for intent. And you can look all this stuff up on the internet, and I suggest you do this. General Petraeus was charged possibly with a felony when he gave over a schedule and an itinerary to a book. I think it was like for a book deal or something like that. Anyway, he caught a lot of heat for that. And here is another Major Jason Brezler, Brezler, Major Jason Brezler, who emailed his buddies that were in imminent danger in combat, and he emailed them. That was the only way that he could get in contact with them. He used his private email account to warn fellow soldiers about danger, and yet he's facing prosecution. He was a major in the Marines, I believe. Let me play this audio clip concerning Major Jason Brezler. I want you to Google this. Brezler. Let me play the next audio clip here.
Good afternoon. I'm still reporting on the rule of law. According to this morning's Washington Post, Major Jason Brezler will use the new Clinton defense in his fight to retain his position in the U.S. Marine Corps after being charged with sending one classified message using an unclassified Yahoo email account to warn fellow Marines in Afghanistan about a potentially corrupt Afghan police chief. 17 days later, on August 10, 2012, a servant of the police chief opened fire on Marines, killing 3 and severely wounding a 4th. Brezler, who is a reservist who works full-time for the New York City Fire Department, was not charged criminally in the case, but was issued a negative fitness report that could end his military career. Representative Peter King wrote then Commander General James Amos about the case in August of 2013 and asked why such harsh punishment had been given to someone who was merely trying to warn fellow soldiers of a potential threat. The Naval Criminal Investigative Service reviewed Major Brezler's personal unclassified hard drive and thumb drive, which he gave them voluntarily, and found over 100 classified documents, though only one was exposed via an unsecured email. Brezler's attorney, Michael Bowe, said he intends to cite the treatment given to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton as an example of a similar situation, but with far different outcomes. Brezler sent one email via an unsecured server to protect the lives of fellow Marines. Hillary Clinton sent hundreds, if not thousands, of emails via an unsecured server out of convenience. I'm still reporting from Washington. Good day.
Okay, so that was, here's a case that, here you have a major that was in the Marines Reserve and also worked in a local fire department. I can't think of a better citizen of the United States protecting America, not only here in the United States from fire and involved with the community, but also protecting his brothers and sisters in armed combat. So he sends one email. And yet he's being prosecuted for that. Not criminally, but they are trying to reduce him in rank and or drum him out of the military. And here Hillary Clinton sent thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of emails on an unsecured server. And she only turned them over after it was discovered. Okay, it's unbelievable. And you heard Trey Gowdy. He talked about a double-track legal system. I've been a lawyer for over 20 years, and I've seen this. I've seen the results of a double-track legal system. Sometimes a triple or quadruple track legal system. And I got to tell you, it drives me insane when I see this. And a lot of times I take cases that people don't have a chance. And I'll take cases on a contingency and I'll bring their voice to court. Just to give them a voice to court. Okay, here is a next audio clip here from RT News on the State Department reopening their investigation. This is going to breathe some fresh air into justice. Let me play the next audio clip here. That was a pretty good talk. Pretty good scene there, isn't it? Breathing fresh air into the room of justice, which needs it. Let me play the next audio clip.
The US State Department is restarting its investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of private email servers when Secretary of State. The review was suspended in April so as not to interfere with the FBI probe. Well, the FBI concluded that although Clinton did send and receive secret sensitive material, no criminal charges should be filed. The presidential candidate denies any wrongdoing.
Whether it was a personal account or a government account, I did not send classified material and I did not receive any material.
Secretary Clinton said she never sent or received any classified information over her private email. Was that true?
Our investigation found that there was classified information sent.
So it was not true.
There is no classified material, so I'm certainly well aware of the classification requirements and did not send classified material.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true. There were a small number of portion markings on, I think, 3 of the documents.
I opted for convenience to use my personal email account because I thought it would be easier to carry just one device for my work and for my personal emails instead of 2.
Secretary Clinton said she used just one device. Was that true?
She used multiple devices during the 4 years of her term as Secretary of State.
Well, with all the evidence against Clinton, the official FBI verdict has shocked many with US.
Okay, so that was an audio clip from RT News that the State Department is reopening their investigation into the email scandal. And the only reason why they stopped, excuse me, that there was a congressional investigation going on at the same time, and they also deferred it to the FBI. So now that James Comey has completed his investigation as far as the email scandal goes, it's going to be lit up again under the State Department. I tell you, there is so much stuff going on. Bill Clinton got disbarred as an attorney. You know, that should tell you something about his character. Also, did you hear the hint? There are missing daily calendar logs of who Hillary met with. So you're going to hear all this stuff about transparency in the government and transparency with Obama. Yeah, where is it? Where is it? I ask you, where is it? And what about all the daily calendar logs that are missing? This is the one other flip of the coin that a lot of the Americans are missing, because these calendars would point to who she met with and for how long, and this would help place everything together. And if you're not getting this by now, let me spell it out for you in the last 3 or 4 minutes I have here. So you have Hillary Clinton, who was Secretary of State, meeting a lot of people in the United States, meeting a lot of other state actors throughout the world, and she was meeting all the foreign diplomats, and her husband was accepting money on behalf of their foundation from a lot of these other nation actors that had direct and I would say hatred against the United States. And yet Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton's foundation accepted money. This is going to be the next wave of corruption coming in as well. And there is some word out on the internet that the FBI may be looking into the RICO statute that has brought down all of these organized criminals to be used against Hillary and the foundation and scandal. I'm going to get into the scandal as far as her foundation goes on another day. That's probably going to end up being a two-hour special. There's no way I can do that in an hour. So I got a couple minutes left here. I wanted all you listeners out there to really open your eyes. You heard my audio clip about Major Jason Bresler, who was trying to save some of his comrades in arms in Afghanistan. And yet they're prosecuting him, and yet you have the outrageous conduct of Hillary Clinton, who hired lawyers to go through all of her emails just by a search box. They didn't even read them all. And then she only turned them over after it was discovered. And she used her lawyers, because lawyers have what's known as attorney-client privilege. Whatever she tells her lawyers, they don't have to repeat in court. Okay, so she has what's known as plausible deniability. So unbelievable, folks. This is how the lawyer game is played at the highest level. So I hope that I have opened your eyes to some of the tactics of our politicians and lawyers. I'm one, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing here. But there has been light shined upon these injustices that goes on out there. And I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand, folks. I have seen it. The double track, the triple track, the quadruple track of our legal system. And the common people out there barely have a voice to get into court and protect themselves, let alone within the justice system. And they're just ran over. Like Major Jason Brezler. He's just ran over. And yet you have Hillary, who is surrounded by hundreds of millions of dollars. It all seems to be about the money, doesn't it? It always seems to come back to be about the money. So this isn't the end of this. I just gave you an update on this. You know, Hillary has tried to deny all this. The reason why I did the show today and not on the Dallas shootings is that I want you listeners, I'm not going to forget about her actions. I'm not going to forget about her issues, and I'm going to have that remain in the forefront. That is one of my biggest things that ticks me off, is that the media quickly moves on to the next events and all that. So in light of what happened in Dallas, my heart goes out to all the victims of violence here in Chicago, around the United States, Minneapolis, and definitely down in Dallas. So I'm ending the show today on a big thank you to all of our first responders out there, including law enforcement. Without law enforcement, folks, it would be complete chaos. And they are putting their lives on the line every day for you and I, as well as our military. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Folks, I am out of here. I am gone. I will be back on the air next Sunday. And I hope you enjoyed today's show. And once again, it will be uploaded to law540.com. Go to law540.com and also go to YouTube and put in Dave Mierswa for the search engine or the search box, and you will see all my previous shows on video. Okay, folks, have a great Sunday. I'll be back next Sunday. Take care of yourself, your family, and your friends now. Bye.